Hey guys, SpinoDude here, welcome back to another review. Today guys, we're going to be taking a look at a brand new 2019 Schleich figure, so let's have our co-host Marvin bring it out. Thank you, Marvin. Alrighty guys, so today we're going to be taking a look at this. This is the brand new 2019 Schleich Spinosaurus, a highly anticipated 2019 figure from the new Schleich prehistoric range. I got this from everythingdinosaur.com, so I want to thank them first for their great service as always. And without further ado guys, let's jump into the review, but as always, before we take a closer look at the figure, here are a few quick little facts about Spinosaurus itself. This animal's full name is Spinosaurus aegypticus. Spinosaurus itself means spine lizard. It was a spinosaurid from the Cretaceous period of what is now Africa. Although it is being questioned as of recent due to Spinosaurus being fragmentary, it is quite possible that this animal is the largest carnivorous dinosaur that we know of. Spinosaurus lived alongside the super predator Carcharodontosaurus, and there are fossils that could suggest that these two mega carnivores got into a conflict. Alright, and there are a few quick little facts about Spinosaurus itself. I'm not going to get too in-depth on the science behind this animal because it is a very sensitive subject nowadays. Spinosaurus is so controversial right now, there really is no set reconstruction for it. As you guys know, Spinosaurus is my favorite dinosaur, so I've kind of taken the stance that as long as a Spinosaurus figure looks naturalistic and cool, then I'm okay with it. I don't really care what it looks like, as long as it's not a quadrupedal, because even Ibrahim himself, who came up with the argument for quadrupedal Spinosaurus, said there are problems with the study and it needs to be revisited. One fact being that the legs for quadrupedal Spinosaurus were found in a completely different country than the rest of the skeleton. So yeah, but I thought we'd kick off this review with a quick little comparison because this Spinosaurus right here was sculpted by the same person who sculpted their Psittacosaurus from last year, 2018. You can see the similarities in the style here, and I think these two figures look very nice with each other. I actually have them both on display with each other on my shelf. And Schleich, if you're watching this, please have this sculptor do more of your figures in the future. Please. I mean, these two over here are just some of your best figures ever in your collection. And a lot of people have the Psittacosaurus from last year, so you can get an idea of the size of this figure. And actually, speaking of size, that's one of the things that surprised me with this Spinosaurus. So why don't we get the measurement out of the way? So Marvin, bring out the flexi ruler. Thank you, Marvin. Alright, we've got our trusty flexi ruler, so let's give this Spinosaurus a measure. So in terms of the length from the tip of the tail to the tip of the snout, we are looking at 11.5 inches, which is about 29 centimeters. And in terms of the height at the highest point, which is the top of the sail there, we are looking at about 4.5 inches, which is about 11.5 centimeters. So this figure is pretty big, but now that we've gotten all that out of the way, why don't we go ahead and just take a look at the figure itself. Now, my first impressions with this figure was that it's solid. I thought it was going to be the sort of rubbery Schleich material, for example, like their Tawa is made out of, even their Dunkleosteus to some extent, but this is solid plastic, like, hear that? That is just solid like a rock right there. So this figure is very sturdy. And speaking of sturdiness, its pose is, I like the pose. I like what they went for with the pose. It looks a little awkward from this angle. I actually like it better from this angle over here, especially once you open the jaw. I think that looks a lot better. And this figure is very stable. It has 5 points that are touching the ground at once, that being the claws on both of the hands, the feet, and the end of the tail. Now, I don't think it's necessary for the tip of the tail to be touching the ground. I think it would have been just fine with the 4 limbs, but yeah, I think it looks a little bit awkward the more I've looked at it over time, the way the tail is just kind of drooping down there. But overall, too, I really like how beefy this Spinosaurus is. That's what really cements this as feeling more naturalistic as a reconstruction of the animal because of how beefy the tail is, because of how beefy the midsection is. Also up on the head here with how thick the throat is on the bottom. I think just the proportions feel natural. I will say that the legs feel short still. Although this is a bipedal stance, which I am a fan of, I think that's more practical for the animal, the legs feel too short, and it almost feels like with the posture they've chosen, the Spinosaurus is kind of struggling to balance itself, I guess, for lack of a better word. But anyway, why don't we zoom in and take a closer look at some of the details on this figure here. So you can see on the body we have some nice large square scales going throughout. The way it's painted though and the colors they've chosen, it's really hard to see the detailing across the body. You can see them better on the tail here. I really like the large square crocodilian-like scales going down the tail. I think that just is a nice stylistic choice. The underbelly, however, is beautifully done. You can see all of the really nice wide square scales going down the tail there and down the belly of the animal, even down the neck and on the underside of the throat. I think the patterning is really nice there. The toned musculature in the limbs is actually one of my favorite parts in the entire figure. The arms, I think, are my favorite part of this entire figure. I love the way the arms look. The claws and everything. They are proportioned great. The musculature looks fantastic. And let's spin it around here so you can get a quick look at the arm on the other side. Yeah, I just absolutely love the way the arms and the hands look. The legs look really nice as well, although they are a bit small. You can see that this foot is sort of pulling back like the Spinosaurus is striding along there. The sail on the back, let me readjust the camera just a little bit. Sail on the back has an interesting pattern with these two horizontal stripes. I think the patterns are quite nice on this figure actually, but the color choice really makes the patterns quite muted across the body. But I will say that's one thing I was nervous about, was the way the colors would look in person. I think they are very nicely applied overall, and I hope it shows up well on camera here. But I like it. I think the brown and the black, and I like how the black covers the entire neck. Like, that's a good transition between the brown body and the bright red head. I really like the red head here. And speaking of the head, here it is. And unfortunately, the head is my least favorite part of this entire figure, because in my opinion, this is where the biggest problems with this figure are. First of all, this figure has an articulated jaw, which feels great. It's very sturdy. It works extremely well. But the way it interlocks with the upper jaw isn't very convincing to me, especially if you look at it straight on. It kind of is moved towards this side a little bit, I guess, just so it would interlock with the upper jaw. But I think the biggest problem with the way the jaw looks when it's closed are the teeth. The teeth are really poorly done. Like, they are very poorly done. Sculpt-wise, they're okay. I've seen a lot better. They are individually sculpted to some extent, but they're just very chunky. They look like white Tic Tacs in the mouth. And then the sloppiness with the white paint on the teeth is just extremely unfortunate. It really detracts from the look of the Spinosaurus's face when you look at it close up. Another part of the paint job that I do not like on the face are the eyes. I think the eyes look extremely cartoony and detract from the overall look of this animal. And on this side, you can see the bleeding from the white paint on the upper jaw is just extremely bad. Also, speaking of paint, the interior of the mouth is sculpted and I guess is painted to some extent. It's mostly just like brown inside. It's really hard to see in there, I know. But the tongue is a bright crimson red color, which is a very odd choice in my opinion. And it sort of makes me want to leave the mouth closed, but I just don't like the way the teeth interlock with each other and it looks extremely awkward to me. But then when you open the mouth, you have that bright red tongue that's very cartoony and just sticks out way too much in my opinion. I do like the shaping of the crest on the head and the overall placement of the eyes and everything. I think that's fine. Another thing I do not like is how wide the skull is. This is a very thick skull for a Spinosaurus. I would have preferred if it was much thinner, but you're going to be viewing it from the side most of the time. I don't think it's horrible. Also, the skull looks like it could be elongated just a little bit more. I will say though, there isn't too bad of a presence of shrink wrapping on the face, which is surprising for Schleich. But yeah, unfortunately, the head is my least favorite part of this entire figure. Well guys, I think we've pretty much covered everything that this Schleich Spinosaurus has to offer. Overall, do I think this figure is a hit or a miss? For a Schleich figure, this is a hit, without a doubt. This is one of Schleich's best figures. I still think the sculpt work is fantastic, and whoever sculpted this needs to do more of Schleich's figures, because overall just the look of the body and everything is great. But for a Spinosaurus figure in general, I do think it's very good, but I must say that the more I look at it over time, the less highly I think about it. If you're a fan of Spinosaurus though, this is the only figure of its kind with this sort of short-legged bipedal reconstruction of Spinosaurus, to my knowledge, that is available as of right now. We do have the Papa one coming out later this year, which I'm really excited for. But if you're a fan of Spinosaurus, I do recommend getting this figure. It is very reasonably priced on everythingdinosaur.com, so I recommend going over there for a great service. And yeah guys, I think that's going to be it for today's review. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel. Also leave a comment telling me your thoughts on the new Schleich Spinosaurus. So thank you so much guys for watching, and as always I will see you in my next video. So take care, and bye-bye.